And Melody, you, in the essay that you wrote as part of this first-year initiative, you talked about the new president having some very specific legislative actions to take right off the bat, an executive order on the first day, a comprehensive piece of legislation that speaks to some of these issues. But you also described some of that as being very practical steps, somewhat modest in some regards, and things that both parties could embrace. That sounds a lot like what John was just describing. Is it the same idea? But I also want to go back and hear your sense of how things went in your time in the White House as well.
You talked about the hand that President Bush extended, and at the time I was working for Senator Kennedy, the hand that Senator Kennedy also extended. So they met somewhere in the middle because they both arrived or were in Washington to govern. And I think that is actually fundamental to this issue. And people on both sides of the aisle have to determine that they are there to get something done. And the responsibility, and I think this goes to your question, is to the people in the country. That you can't just retreat to corners when there are people counting on you to solve these big problems. And certainly the problems, some of them that John was articulating around a mobility and opportunity agenda, around the crumbling infrastructure in the country. I mean, we can tick through a list of things, have to be solved if the nation is going to move forward and if we're going to heal some of the wounds that are festering and bleeding right now. And I think right now there exists in the country a mood among some that says that's not our responsibility. In fact, we are here not to govern. We are here to shut down, and the calcification that exists is something that we consider to be an achievement. And I think both the American population and those that they send to Washington have to come to an agreement about what it is that we want from our federal government in this instance, but also on the state and local levels. So I think that that is important. The kinds of things that I talk about in the article go to the fact that because of the calcification, because of this sense that we can't get anything done, the frustration, the anger that exists in the country right now about circumstances as well as toward Washington, require that we start to put some wins on the table. That the American people need to understand that our federal government can work, that federal government is not the problem, that we need an efficient government that can work with other sectors to help solve some of these problems. And some of the things that I think about and I think others are thinking about, hopefully transition teams are thinking about right now, speak to addressing some of these challenges and literally both as process and as substance moving the ball forward.